Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Hemorrhoes.tv, and today I am joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Deerhart and my best friend Matthew Thomas. And today we're talking about gay sex and in particular, full body ecstasy, folks. Not half body, not quarter body. We're doing the whole kit and caboodle. Let's get started.
Where does that come from?
Kit and caboodle?
Yeah.
I always used to thought it was kitten and poodle. Not the brightest bulb. Not the brightest bulb. Hemorrhoes Live is sponsored by Hemorrhoes.tv. Created by Davey Wavey, Hemorrhoes.tv is a website that inspires the best gay sex of your life through explicit, super hot videos. Hemorrhoes.tv content is designed by a team of gay sex experts to result in increased pleasure, deeper connections, and a whole lot more fun. Join the revolution at himeros.tv/pod and save 20%. Hemorrhoes.tv, it's like porn, but better.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I want to jump in and say, but better. And then I'm like, no.
You should.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like call and repeat. So,
okay.
But
Okay.
no one ever repeats. So,
Okay. Noted.
Yeah. Next week.
Get ready.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I just got into Palm Springs last night. So it's 102 degrees today. It is hot. It is white party this weekend in Palm Springs. So I got out my sequin Speedo. Oh, I'm going to every party. No, I'm not. That would be
like you.
I know. I was having a really hard time.
Exactly.
That.
Yeah, people don't realize what a basic bitch I am in real life. I think because in some ways I really am like the epitome of what it is to be gay.
Mm-hmm.
Like in some senses, I think they think it also extends to my social structure, which certainly it does not.
Mm-hmm.
So I will not be attending. No. Have you guys ever been to like a gay circuit party?
I've never been to like a big circuit party like that. Not like the white party.
Yeah.
I did.
Little gay circuits, small gay circuits.
What did you go to, Matt?
It was on a first date, actually. It was totally unplanned.
Oh, wow.
It was in New York City. We had dinner. We were walking around the city. We were having a great time. And he was like, why don't you come meet my friends? And I was kind of like, wait, what? I was like, sure, why not? And it was this not underground, but this giant building in New York City, which I kind of think we went underground, but you walk in and it's like very industrial. It's huge. And there's like nothing but like guys in their underwear everywhere, loud, crazy music. It was pretty intense. It was the first and last time that I would probably ever go to something like that.
Yeah, it just seems too noisy.
It was super loud. My ears were ringing afterwards, and it just a lot of people on lots of different stuff.
I find you tapping your fingers on the desk right now to be too loud. So
how do you know it's me?
Who else is it?
Why couldn't it be Finn?
He's got his hands up.
Person here.
One hand is on my mouth, right?
Yeah, and he's jerking off with the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a subtle little rub of the head. Little fluff going on underneath.
So anything else about your weeks to report?
I just got back from Harbin Hot Springs, which is super cool. I got to hang out.
You're always going to I've been in Rhode Island too long. Hot Springs.
Yeah.
Are these different ones that you go to, or is it the same one?
Yeah, they're different. There's multiple ones up here in the North California area that I really like, and
this is your version of the circuit. You do the hot
exactly.
Springs circuit.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like clothing optional. You just lay out in the sun and vibe, and there's really awesome energy just hanging out in the hot water and
nice
reading a book, and that's so my social life. So
yeah, that sounds fabulous. I've been really all in with Game of Thrones. Have you guys been watching it this season?
I have not. No.
Have you watched both episodes, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watched the second one yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
I
watch it as soon as it comes out.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm really big into it. I listen to all the Game of Thrones podcast and like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's a thing.
I didn't know it was like that. Finn, I got HBO Go if you ever want to watch.
Okay. I mean, I hear it's such a big deal, and I at last actually it was a couple weeks ago was the first episode right of the new season. I got invited to all these parties, like to a watching party, and I was like, I've never actually seen a full episode of Game of Thrones ever. I can't jump into this season without knowing.
And you know what? If Finn wants to watch it, I'm sure he'll get his own HBO account because he supports the creation of creative content.
Oh,
Finn,
legality.
you have my number if you want the username and password.
There's a good legal cover there.
You all gonna start sharing your Himrose TV passwords too?
Right.
Girl, we're just struggling artists trying to make it.
I know. Yep. Mm.
So switching gears, Matt sent a interesting article to both Finn and myself today about the Supreme Court taking up the discrimination cases and hearing arguments. Basically, they're trying to decide whether or not Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which covers discrimination based on sex, applies to LGBT people. The reason because it is relevant to our conversation, is because I want to explain why I have a hard time fucking Trump supporters, because I got a lot of angry emails the last time I brought this up when I was talking about how Chad and I had that threesome with the ship captain who was a Trump supporter. And I had like this moment of like, I don't know if I can have sex with him. And for me, it's not because it's not a political thing so much as it's like a personal thing. And in this instance, the article that Matt sent, there was a direct quote in it which said, the Trump administration has argued before the Supreme Court that Title VII does not apply to LGBT individuals. So for me, this is how the dots get connected. It's like, if you're supporting someone that doesn't support me and that doesn't support you, and in particular, that doesn't support this aspect of you that's coming after me to hook up, like, yeah, like I'm going to have an issue with that. Like, you're supporting someone that makes it harder for people like us to exist.
Right.
And yet you're trying to have like queer sex with me. So no, I don't like that. Does that make sense? Like, is that stupid?
It makes total sense to me. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. It just, whenever I get into these conversations, because there was someone I was very, very close with that was a Trump supporter and openly gay. And it didn't make any sense to me. And the argument was always about the economy. It was never about social issues as to why they were a Republican or why they did support Trump. But I've yet to meet a gay Republican that can explain why it makes sense to support him and the administration, given their stance on the LGBT community. I just want someone to explain that to me.
Right.
And like, what's closer to your heart and who you are? Like your wallet, or like who you are as a person? Like, honestly, I don't know.
It's different. I mean, but I think it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something that it's unfortunate, but it's true.
I agree. And for me, it's like, it's kind of like, to take a step back from the political part of it and just say, you know, like, for me, the values, do I share values with this person? You know, for me, my values, like equality, like the things that we talk about on here, these are chief values for me. So if somebody doesn't connect with me over those, I have a sense of, I just don't really connect with them as much. I can find something to connect with them about, but it's less like, oh, you support Trump, but like you know, what that necessarily usually means is like, they don't hold the same values that I do. So it's harder to find a connection point with them.
Yeah. Having said that, I mean, like, a hookup is different than like dating or relationship. Like, anyway, we did have sex. I had sex with the captain, the Trump supporter. So, you know,
you could always do it in a way where you're just talking shit, you know, and kind of pull out that and just utilize that in the hookup.
Yeah. No, like seriously though, like channel it. Yeah. Yeah. So it like, obviously we're not legal scholars, so I'm not going to get into like the weeds of like what the argument is. but basically there's a section in Title 7. This is like entertaining to hear me talk about this, where it says that like you're protected on the basis of sex, right? And so they're trying to decide if that also applies to sexual orientation and gender identity. It's interesting because we, like, as LGBT people, have really done a good job, I think, of explaining the difference between like gender identity and sexual orientation. We've kind of like teased them out, and in this particular instance, there's kind of like two separate arguments, and I think it's a clearer argument that this should cover transgender people because like it's just so much more closely related to sex. The argument that they're making about sexual orientation is that they're saying like gay people need to be protected regardless of their employer's views of whom individuals of their respective genders should love. They're trying to tie it to sex. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thanks for sharing the article, Matt.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
So moving on from discrimination to the equally important topic of Instagram. I saw a tweet this week that said, unfollow Instagram models and influencers, start following artists and designers. Your entire outlook on life will change. You'll be reminded less about your insecurities. You'll be reminded more about what you love and about what humans are capable of creating. So I sent to both of you guys an article in The Atlantic called "The Instagram Aesthetic is Dead." And basically it was saying for Instagram-y, bright colors, ultra posed pictures like that, it's just become really overdone. And now there's this swing that's happening towards authenticity, where people are posting pictures that aren't cultivated, that are curated, I guess would be the word, where you're just kind of like on the fly, you're with your friends, you take a picture, you don't like Facetune it, Photoshop it, like it's just real. And as someone who has taken, I feel like a lot of superposed pictures, I'm really happy about this. And it's something I want to try to do with my own Instagram. I was doing an interview earlier this morning, and the interviewer asked like, why for 12 years, I've been making YouTube videos, like how has my career been successful for that long of a time? And I started talking about authenticity. Like I'm creating videos that are about the stuff that I'm passionate about, and they're very real and they're authentic to who I am. And like, as I was having that conversation and thinking about this, I was like, man, and yet like my Instagram is anything but. It's just all these like, just so curated, and it just feels really fake. And I don't know. I think I mentioned when Chad and I were in Hong Kong, we were waiting in lines at these like Instagram famous locations to get the like ideal Instagram shot. And I just hate it. I fucking hate, I feel like I'm allergic to it. And like the shots where someone's kind of like looking off to the side with the camera directly in front of them, they're like, as if like they don't know they're being photographed. It's so fucking fake.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys have any experience with any of this? Does any of this resonate? What do we think?
Yeah, it does. I think about this actually a lot in reference to not only Instagram, but Facebook, like the curation of content. And I'll catch myself, like representing myself in a certain kind of way. And I think that these social media channels are definitely just an extension of us as people, like it's not like the Instagram play. I think we just do this with our personalities. It's like, how do I represent myself? Do I, try to project some sort of image into the world? And I mean, it kind of comes up for me around my business, even like with coaching around sex and intimacy. Like I have a really hard time admitting to myself sometimes when I'm struggling with something, or if I'm being dishonest about something, because it like puts me in conflict with the role that I'm putting out there. And I just think that we're all doing that on some level. And then for like, Facebook and Instagram and these places where we're getting validated for just like a superficial part of who we are. In a lot of ways, it's like what we are on the outside. It puts us in a place where we emphasize that so much more than like what's going on the inside. And that's a challenge.
Haven't you ever been like at like say you're at dinner and like you're enjoying like this beautiful plate of food comes, you take a picture of it and you're like, oh, like I'd love to post this. I'm not going to post it. It's not going to get any likes.
I actually can't even. I have to say, disclaimer: I hate looking at people's food on Facebook feed. I'm like, oh fucking, what the fuck? Like, I like hide people sometimes if all I see is their food.
Okay, bad example, but like you've
yeah.
taken a picture or something and been like, oh, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
post this. Like it's not gonna get
Yeah. Or I want to post something and like kind of like trying to generate something for sure, you know, like, and it's, you know, coming from some, you know, kind of fake place in me for sure. Or even like, I like to extend this to like sex pics and stuff though too. You know, like
Girl, where are you
of-
posting sex pics?
I mean, people like online profiles and things. It's like augmenting this and that, and like this angle, and oh, that makes me look a little fat, and oh, this makes me look good, and this looks like a lot more like the magazines or the pictures or the media that I'm wanting than what I might actually look like if I'm just, you know, looking at myself in the mirror.
Where are you seeing these?
People's profiles on Grindr, Scruff, all the
okay.
like it just, you know, like, ooh, that makes me look fat. Let me do that 10. How many times have you sent like dick pics or ass pics where you like do it multiple times because you're like, ooh, I don't like that.
I used to take my selfies and put them on Grindr, and depending upon how much attention I got from that picture would depend on whether or not I'd post the picture on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's like a filtering
as terrible as that sounds. No, I'm serious. And that's part of the reason why I really don't post anything on Instagram anymore, because I got into that cycle of like, oh my God, I didn't get enough likes. I need to delete this. And I was like, I was just stupid. And I was like, you know what? Let me just stop posting, period.
I do the opposite thing, which is I post them on Instagram, and whatever gets a lot of likes, I then carry on over to Grindr. It's easier to quantify.
Yeah.
I mean, but even just like swapping pictures with somebody, you haven't like taken like multiple pictures if you're trying to get a dick pic or an ass pic, and you just do it until you get the angle that like suits your like aesthetic that you want.
No.
Like, oh, that looks like Tumblr.
Yeah, no, I do that.
Yeah.
For me, it's more about like the ass looking thick or the dick looking big. Like
right.
But
And then where do I put the camera to do all that?
Yeah, but it's also kind of marketing. Like it's not like with like Instagram and your friends, like you're not really marketing yourself in the same, like on Grindr, it's like going fishing, you know, you need to fish with bait. So I'm going to like find the juiciest worm I can put on that.
It's kind of like fishing for validation though on Instagram, you know, it's like what you're talking about, those pictures. Actually, there was this girl I was watching with a selfie stick, and me and my friend were sitting close by and just watching her, and we laughed so much because she took like 10 of them. She would take a picture, take it down off the stick, look at it, and like do it again and do it again and again, and just like, you know, like over and over again in the same picture. Like, oh my God, girl. But yeah, it's like for what? And not to just implicate everybody else. I mean, I do it too. So
no, we're perfect, girl. Come on.
Yeah, we are. Like, screenshot this little Google Hangout.
There's a new YouTube video I posted on Tuesday on my YouTube channel. It's already age restricted. It's Chad and I playing a sex game called Hat Trick, which is an upcoming Himmerose TV release that we filmed in Joshua Tree. I appealed the age restriction. I'm not even going to go down this rabbit hole again, but like it is the least inappropriate video I've like ever filmed. And yeah, it's still age restricted. Like we're fully clothed. At one point I take my shirt off so that Chad can motorboat me. One of the things that we pulled out of the hat. But like it was hardly like explicit, and it was more kind of like goofy than like hardcore. So if you guys want to see that, it is pretty cute. You can check that out on my YouTube channel. Speaking of Chad, I was getting my hair cut last week or earlier this week, I guess. And my barber in Rhode Island was talking about Chad, and she asked how we handled being in a long distance relationship. Cause I was like, oh yeah, I'm in California a lot and he's in Massachusetts. She's a slut like I am, my barber. So I told her, I was like, yeah, we're in an open relationship. And she said, oh yeah, like, okay, that totally makes sense. So like, does Chad know it's open?
Oh, wow.
I was like, LOL, LOL.
It's a viable question though, you know?
A what question?
It's a viable question.
Yeah. Not really though, because
No.
like
Right.
Open means open.
Exactly. But I mean, to assume that people are living in integrity around their relationships is a big assumption.
yeah, I mean, I guess I would have just oh, I just cheat on him would be the like
Right.
I just have
Oh,
sex
you
with
know,
other people.
girl, we do. I never tell him.
Yeah.
Shh.
She said that she was like, oh, I want to be in an open relationship. She's like, but most people only want like themselves to be in the open relationship. They don't want like their partner to have that kind of freedom. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Why do you think, Matt, why do you think that is?
Control. I think that for the person that wants the open relationship, that they understand I can go out there, I can have sex. It doesn't mean anything to me. It's just sex. But they can't wrap their minds around it meaning the same thing for their partner. And they feel threatened that it very well might mean more to their partner. That's why I feel like it doesn't happen as often as maybe people would like. I don't know.
And also insecurity too, that
Sure.
like, well, like I'm gonna at the end of the day, I'm gonna come back and still be with my partner, but like my partner might find someone that's a better catch than I am and leave me for that. Like I can imagine someone having that conversation, right?
Yeah,
I've just never. Go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just think that, yeah, like whether it's for sex or for like intimate, like emotional needs or whatever it is that's motivating us, I mean, we have this complex spectrum of needs, and sometimes our relationships meet them and sometimes they don't, but we still have all the vulnerabilities that we have as people too. So it's like, you know, wanting to kind of control and manage your partner's perception of what's going on in the relationship while you do what you want to do to get your needs met, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. But on the flip side of it, it's like these intense vulnerabilities of being abandoned, and you think that, you know, erroneously that you can kind of control all that.
Is the mustache new?
No.
How long have you had that?
I've had this for a while.
It looks
Did
bushy.
you notice it last week?
No.
Well, you had more mustache than you had scruff. The scruff is actually coming in with the mustache now.
I do, you know what? I trim my face like every few days. So depending on the day, it could have looked different on the Google Hangout. But no, this is my Finn of Tomland look.
Finn of Tomland.
Yeah. I like it. Yep.
Yeah.
This is why people need to tune in live just for moments like this.
Well, I think about what it might look like when I'm sucking dick. So, and then I think about all these little pictures I used to look at when I was a kid of dudes in the 70s with mustaches.
Wow. I think about what it feels like as sandpaper against my hole. Chad wants to grow a goatee, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And he's like, lucky for you, it's my face and not yours, and I get to decide what I want to do with my facial hair.
Top
like
that, yeah.
Oh, I do top that, actually. I do. You little bitch.
I've heard a complaint about the mustache just this past weekend. In fact, like the aesthetic is pleasing to him, but that it kind of made his butt raw. So
is this Sam that's complaining?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But no, the other one.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. You were just.
He doesn't know that we're open.
I thought of you a couple days ago while I was having sex.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I invited this guy over to my house who was 23, and he came over. This is back in Rhode Island, and Matt already knows this. And so he came over, and he was like looking at my place, and he's like, "Wow," he's like, "This your condo's really nice." I guess he was like impressed by it. He's living, and I was like, I don't know how I fucking get into any of this. Like, I just met him. Like, I teach guys how to have better gay sex. I was like, what do you do? And he was like, I work at a bank. So we got into this conversation, and it turns out that he just got divorced from his wife 2 weeks ago. He's 23.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was married to her for a couple years, and this was his first time having sex with a guy since before he was married.
Oh wow.
And because I was like, he drove like an hour and 45 minutes to like get to my house too. And I was like, why is this guy? And he's like super hot. Like, I was like, why is he driving all this way? Like, this is why. And he had just come out to his wife. She immediately divorced him. She was super religious. He has this giant dick. Can I show you guys the dick?
You can put it on the screen.
You want to? I can't put it on the screen.
Yeah. Do what I did.
Right. Let me see.
I know.
Let me see. I haven't. I sent it to Chad. I'm gonna find it in the.
And you thought about me because
it's almost as big as your dick.
Well, okay, good. Well, I said, I mean, I got married when I was 23, and then I didn't come out till I was 31.
Yeah, you were in it a lot longer.
It was, and I was in one of those open relationships the other party didn't really know about, unfortunately.
Well, I have a question about this. So here's the picture. Check it out. Do you see it?
I do.
It's a big dick. I was all excited to hop on that, and to be honest, my eyes are bigger than my appetite. Like I don't think I actually physically enjoy super huge dicks so much as I like enjoy the idea of enjoying super big dicks. And he was kind of struggling with the topping part, and like it just wasn't a good like dynamic. But anytime I expressed any sort of dominance over him, he would get like super into it. And I was like, oh my God, he wants to get fucked. Like he totally wants to get fucked. And he came right from work. Like he rinsed off very quickly in the shower, but I was like, man, am I going to fuck him even though he hasn't douched? Like, and he wanted it so badly. And like, anytime my dick would go like near his butt, he was just like craving it. So finally I was like, all right, I'm just going to fuck him. And he like rode my dick in the way that like you do when you get out of prison or out of a marriage with a woman. Like it felt like he was like fucking me for his life. He was like riding my cock like it was the last dick on this planet, and it was his like spaceship to like to like get away. So my question is like, Finn, because you're married to a woman, if like you had a similar experience, like as far as I know, you kind of identify exclusively as gay. So what was it like for you to have sex with men versus like a woman?
I love that. This is what was kind of confusing to me, besides all the shame of not wanting to come out. Like I really was attracted to her, and I really felt a lot of emotional connection. So I enjoyed sex with her, but I never had sex with any other woman. So it was kind of, as like all the men that I fucked and was getting fucked by started to stack up in my mind, it was harder and harder to say, oh, I'm just bi, because like I was having sex with a lot of men. But it always felt like such a split, like sex with her was like about being close and about just intimacy, and sex with men was about lust. And I had not been able to have those two together. But we had sex with guys together, and that was always really fun, but it was hard for me to really let go and show her how much I loved it and how much I needed it, because then it would like confirm to like even me that I was gay. So
you wanted to ride it like it was the last dick in the
world. Oh my God, yeah.
Right?
And if I were like cheating, which happened frequently, I would really, really enjoy myself, but it had to be this like secret thing, So with her, it was like this, it would bring up my inhibition and had to like play a role, That wasn't really real. It was like the straight guy getting fucked versus just Finn getting fucked, which is a very different thing.
Matt, have you ever had sex with a married guy?
No, never. No.
You're so well behaved. You're so not scandalous.
I didn't say I was well behaved, but no.
Just in this instance.
Listen, no, you know the right questions to ask. I'm just glad you're not asking them.
One time she actually, a couple times she got a strap on and she really enjoyed that. And even that was fun for me to be able to do that with her. And it was this weird moment. Like I'll explain one time, she was fucking me with a strap on. She had really long hair and it was like hanging down. So it was like I was getting fucked. Like I had that experience with men, but then also like up top, like watching her from up above. It's like her tits and her hair was like brushing all over me. So it was like having like this extreme masculine kind of feeling, you know, down below and then feminine up top. It was a little bizarre, but it's something that kind of sticks out in my mind as a memory that I really enjoyed.
Did you two have more sex in like threesome activity or more sex just with each other?
I think we had more sex with each other, but we did have a lot of threesomes. Like we were poly for like 7 years of our relationship, and we would go out hunting for guys together and pick out guys and like hook up with guys on Craigslist a lot. And then we had buddies that we played around with too.
I wonder if it would have been different with like Grindr, because this was like kind of pre-Grindr. Because Grindr, I think, would give you more availability to guys.
Right. Yeah, it was like Craigslist. Was that we would do the Craigslist thing and we'd go to a bar and meet the guy and you know, take him home. That was just kind of our thing.
Were you ever worried that it would get out, like the what you two had?
Get out? What do you mean?
Like get out in the community with?
Oh, we loved that part. We would go out to the clubs with our boyfriends and it felt like kind of glamorous and fun at that point. I was afraid to get out. It's just, and that is what happened eventually. It just kind of all caught up.
Wow.
Yeah. And we dated guys that we would go out to the clubs, and it was just really fun because we would also too, like, you know, having two gay boyfriends as she had, we just really had fun, like styling her and just going out. And she was mesmerizing to a lot of men and even a lot of gay guys. Like she called herself a sex buster because a lot of gay guys would be like, I don't do girls, but I would do you, and you two, I really want to, you know, I'm curious about. So it was a fun time. It's the best I could do with all the religious shame that I had to kind of come up with a compromise like that. But I also really cherished her. So here we are.
So now you're going to write a memoir.
Oh yeah, I actually am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about this week's video titled Full Body Ecstasy, featuring Peter Pounder and Blake Turner. It's his real name, by the way, guys. Peter Pounder.
He's so cute.
Yeah, he really is. He's very innocent, very adorable. He's done a lot of those Mormon Boys videos that you like so much.
I love those. And it's like, I'll even judge myself for loving, but I do.
Have you seen him in them?
No, I have. Well, maybe I have. Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah, I think he told us a story about, I might be mixing up Mormon Boys, but there's like, they have some sort of device that they built. It's like a piece of wood with butt plugs on it, and they go from like small to large. Mm-hmm. And like they test you, like, I don't know, I think this might be one of the videos where they like film you working your way up to the top. And I think he made it like all the way to the end, and that was his like first filming experience. Was like, I would probably make it to the second one and be like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's me too.
Matt would be grabbing his bottle of anal ease. All right, so
how many hours it took to do that filming, though, you know?
10 minutes. So, this is
on the big end first and work down.
So this was a back to Himrose TV. This was a 20-minute instructional video that is designed to help people move from having an orgasm to being orgasmic. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that orgasm is a state of being. It's a little abstract. Like it resonates with me, but it's also like a little bit, like I get that's a little bit outside the box. So in the video, Peter gets blindfolded, and the other model kind of supports him as he's experiencing whole body pleasure, and they blindfold him so that he can get like stop seeing and more on what he's feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think what struck me about this like entire process that they go through is how different it is from traditional porn, where traditional porn, the focus is on getting the viewer off. And in this video, the focus is on having the model experience pleasure, like how dramatically different that looks. And what I found myself really aware of is like, okay, like it depends how people are approaching this video and how they're using this video. and that's going to determine whether or not they like it. Because if you're just approaching this video as something hot to jerk off to, like it is, like it's definitely to watch them play, but like that's not what this video brings to the table.
Mhm.
And so it's like my hope that people, when they interact with this video, they really take what it's showing and like try it for themselves and apply it to their life.
Mhm.
I think it just looks very different for people to watch it. Like it's not like a traditional porn. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. It's not traditional, but also, not every video is going to land with everybody. And I really appreciated this video, actually. I appreciate it's kind of a journey that you watch. When I first pulled it up to watch, I thought, oh God, 19 minutes.
Yeah.
But I like
and that's like,
no, but I thought what I did think though was like, oh, I just want to, again, I was like, I want to show this to my partner later and I want to do this with him. And I thought it was really sweet, and I appreciate the emphasis on the state of mind being orgasmic versus like just having an orgasm in your dick. And it's true, the more you can get outside of your head and outside of the roles and the mental images that you're using to feed your sexuality, there's so much available, and I've experienced that in my own body. So it was a nice reminder, and I'm actually going to watch it again later. So,
Matt, how did it land with you?
It's funny. As an exercise, it's something that I would definitely do with someone that I was with. But I have to say, it's one of the few videos that I've seen where I felt like the models didn't have any sort of connection to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't feel that, and I felt that from literally when the video first opened. They're jumping on the bed, and the first thing I think is, why are they so serious? Like, why are they staring at each other like that? And then you say, smile and laugh. And then they start smiling and laughing. And I was just like, this is just not connected. I just didn't. So to that end, I was like, like it's rare. Generally, whenever I watch them, they always look so connected to one another. I just didn't get that vibe. But as an exercise and like exploring, I thought this was fantastic.
It's interesting that you say that about the connection, because this video, we filmed it about, I guess about a year ago. And each time we do a project, we learn different things. And we filmed this one in Toronto at the Darling Mansion, which is like this like sex palace. And one of the things I've really taken away is like, in order to facilitate, first of all, like that video requires a lot of vulnerability. And if you just throw model to it, like I think models default is to be guarded. And it actually takes like really holding a container, like working with the models, like off camera, all these things to kind of facilitate like the kind of chemistry and connection that you're talking about. And I think one of the things that was an oversight in Toronto is like, these were local models who lived in Toronto. They weren't staying in the same property at night. We didn't put them through a retreat first. And I think like, for me, one of the takeaways was like, there is this requirement of a container that needs to be held. And that wasn't on this particular shoot, but it's something that we do now. And I think that's probably why you pick up on it more in the newer stuff that we've shot. But that aside, like if you just follow it word for word, like if you just approach it, like you're saying, as an instructional video, there's a lot to take from it. That part in the beginning that you're talking about, where they were like laughing and grunting and growling and making ridiculous faces at each other. When we were filming it, I remember having this moment of like, what the hell does any of this have to do with pleasure? Like, this just looks so fucking ridiculous. And I think they're thinking that too, like, oh my God, I feel so ridiculous. And they're filming this and like people are going to watch it. But then the video says that like, when you free your voice and your facial expressions, you start to free your overall inhibitions. And you're like, oh, okay, you can start to connect the dots, but like, it is very much outside the fucking box.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I had a different reaction to it. Like I actually was kind of the impression that they were connected. When I watched, I was like, oh, how cute! They're pushing on each other and laughing, and it reminded me of times in like my life where I've done that with guys. Like even dancing is kind of like that. Sometimes being like a little playful and dancing, or Sam and I have wrestled and like fought each other, and it turned into hot sex. So I got where it was coming from, and then I also just thought about Brad and how this video just seemed like an extension of Brad and who he is.
Yeah, Brad Amberhart's the tantric sex coach who he's been on a few podcasts, but he wrote this concept, and he was right there, like off camera, working with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
This video, I mean, it was like, in terms of filming, editing, coaching, like it was a fucking lot. It was a lot to pull off. It was time intensive, I will say. So you guys can check it out on himroast.tv. You can watch a free preview. I mean, you're not going to get like the meat of it through that. You're just going to have to join if you want to see that, and no fucking sharing passwords. It's HIMEROS.tv. You can do himroast.tv/pod. You can save 20%. All right, let's answer some questions.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked a lot. Matt, do you want to read the first question? Do you have that handy?
Give me 1 second.
We have some really good questions.
Question number 1.
Clear that throat, queen.
I've known of you for many years, but I've only recently discovered your podcast, which I absolutely love to listen to while at work.
I love that I like include that in it. I don't like cut that. Like, how is that necessary for the viewing public to like just a little self-congratulatory moment? Okay, thank you. I love that.
My induction into this life of sex positivity was while at Southern Decadence in NOLA. Being consistently surrounded by, for all intents and purposes, naked men was an eye-opening experience. Being in the back of the club, getting my dick sucked while having onlookers stare and sometimes join was the first time I've ever experienced public play while in a club setting. And when I got back home to LA, I wanted more. So that's what I did. I've always been very sexual and have always had a lot of sexual energy. For a while, I was trying to contain it and run away from it instead of embracing it, which is what I do now. To make a long story short, I realized that public play was one of my kinks, if you can even call it that. So I'm a regular at the Korean spa, enjoy play parties, and love to go to any event where I can socialize and celebrate being seedy. But now I've seemed to fall into a rut where I lost interest in sex and men, feeling a little asexual at the moment. Question: how do I overcome sexual fatigue and my overall disinterest in sex and men?
Mm.
So as someone who's friends with a lot of like older women, I always find like conversations about sex fascinating. In particular, I have 2 neighbors back home in Rhode Island, and I think like they each haven't had sex in like 12 and 14 years respectively or something like that. And when they said that, I was like, what? Like, how is that possible? How is that possible? Like, what? Like, oh my God. And they were like, yeah, but if I wanted to have sex, like I would. I'm happy. So I think like for this person, like my question would be that like, and I know this happens for myself. Like there's moments in my life where I'm super horny, and then I go through stretches where my sexual energy is a bit like lower. It's not, I go into 14-year phases of no sex, but like if you're happy and fulfilled and enjoying yourself, then like I don't know that like the answer is that you need to overcome that. If you don't feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Well,
Like,
it's funny because he's worried that he's somehow trying to overcome something that he at the same time acknowledges that he doesn't actually want. So Why do you feel like you have to overcome something that you're not actually interested in at the moment? Why does it have to mean that there's something wrong with you just because you've done it for so long? You're just uninterested in it right now. Like maybe in some way he's making it out to be more than what it actually is. I don't know. What do you think, Finn?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, but to that point though, I think there's a lot of pressure. Like I feel pressure around like this mythological amount of sex I'm supposed to be having, and like what kind of sex I'm supposed to be having, and with whom. I mean, like the gay community, it, like brings sex forward as this connection point, and I think in some ways it's not only is it pleasure, but it's also testimony to how much we're trying to heal that space, in my opinion. So I think, yeah, as we get older, there's just more stuff on the table that can be equally as important as sex. It's not that sex diminishes in importance. It's just like, oh, there's other stuff that I really care about too. And also our sexuality is continually evolving, so it almost seems like maybe the person that wrote in, maybe you're at like a pausing point to just kind of like feel into the more subtle things that are emerging from you around sexuality. Maybe there's like a whole new realm of exciting new exploration in sex that's just waiting to come out, if you let go of this expectation that it needs to be what you've been doing for a while already, and see what's there now.
Yeah. When I'm watching a Netflix show that I don't like, I don't think to myself, how can I overcome my disinterest of the show?
I never do.
I'm like, I'm going to watch something else.
Hold on 1 second for me. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
She's on the move. She's busy.
But I'm not going to try to overcome the fact that I'm done with this conversation. I'm just going to walk away.
Maybe it was triggering. All right, Finn.
Yeah.
Let's hit up question number 2. If you wanna, do you wanna read that one?
Sure thing. Okay. I want you to know that you make such a difference by being a positive voice to the queer community.
Again, this like moment of validation that I really appreciate. Thank you.
I do too. I really love hearing that. It's super great. And when we get these letters from people, it makes me happy. So anyway, yeah. Positive voices. I've always wondered if you would ever consider discussing more about average, quote unquote, gays, those of us who work on ourselves, but for various reasons just don't fit into the mold of gay beauty. I love that Himeros promotes healthy relationships of all kinds and encourages exploration, but those men are all Adonises. It just seems to perpetuate the idea that you have to look a certain way to attract people who might be better representations of gay beauty. I hope this makes sense. It's so hard to be shamed constantly for being normal, and the majority of gay culture seems to have no time for those of us who don't, quote unquote, fit, especially if we work hard to take care of ourselves but might not have the same results as others. Thank you for all that you do.
Yeah,
it's a great
question. So this is something I'm like very much aware of. Part of my vision for Himeros TV is that when people go to the website, they get to see a reflection of themselves. There's kind of an aspect of what we do that's like marketing, and that people really enjoy, seeing the porn stars that they follow and that they love in these videos. But the other aspect of that is I want there to be people who who don't have 6-packs and 9-inch dicks. It's why last week I talked about the retreat that we're doing in September in Easton Mountain, in upstate New York, where we're featuring non-porn stars, and we're going to be creating a bunch of videos around that. And there are videos. I mean, I get that it's kind of a minority of the content on the site, but like, featuring kind of the non-traditional porn stars like Norm, the 83-year-old, and we filmed a bunch of guys in, I guess we were in Asheville, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So
Palm Springs too.
Oh yeah, in Palm Springs, yeah. A lot of that content hasn't been released yet. So it's something I'm really sensitive about, I'm really aware of, and something that I'm committing to do more of, because I totally get that if you don't see people who look like you on the site, it gives the impression that the sort of sexual ecstasy that we're embodying is only available to porn stars and people with 6-pack abs and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't it like just kind of just because these are people that have been they're in an industry and that's like their job and they're being paid to do that a lot. So aside from the fact that, like we relate to the beauty concept and the struggles there and all that, these men, that's what they do. And their profession, is to do that on camera. And I don't know if a lot of people would be willing to do that.
What? Oh, you mean like people?
Yeah, make porn. I mean, I don't know. Like, what? I'm curious what you would say about that.
Yeah, I mean,
this is their profession. Granted, they are being paid for their looks, and what our culture says is to be on the altar of beauty. But, people that are having other jobs aren't. That's not what they're getting paid for. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, the responses that we've had for the project in September have been pretty overwhelming. Like, I think there are a lot of people who don't look like porn stars who are really excited about the idea of being on camera. And I also think that porn stars, the industry has this expectation around what a porn star should look like. And I think people just buy into that. So these models who they're living to, like, it's their livelihood to have sex on camera. When they're thinking about the work that they need to get, like, the more they look like that quote unquote ideal, the more they're going to get booked, the more people are going to like them. But there are some non-traditional porn stars. There are kind of folks who are breaking the mold. And I feel like, at least in recent years, there's been more of a swing to showcase some of that. I mean, Tumblr was such a great place for that to happen, for there to be, people to be their own content creators. Like, I think we're that, but even on Pornhub, you'll see it, people that are creating content on their own, and some studios that are showing guys outside of that, like, 20-something-year-old muscle big dick box. Were you gonna say something, Matt?
I was gonna say, it's from a business perspective, though, it has to be difficult on some level because, you, like any other company, is looking to make a profit, and you also want to market things that are desirable. At the same time, while this isn't necessarily porn, you still have to play with that idea of fantasy. People, when they imagine what they want to be with, a lot of times they do imagine these models that they feel like are not always attainable in life. So I think it's tough. It's tough to give everyone what they want and feel like you are touching everything and not leaving anyone out. It's a real tightrope.
You know what? What I often think about, though, is that there are 1,000 studios casting guys with 6-pack abs and big dicks and muscles and whatever. And when we did a survey of our membership, 48% of Himros TV members said that they want to see men over the age of 50 in our videos. So sometimes I wonder if, like, studios are all just doing the same thing because we've all bought into the same myth that that's what people want to see. And in reality, what people do want to see is a wider spectrum of sexiness than this very, like, narrow, spectrum that's being shown right now. So like, when we edited our new trailer for Himros TV, which is finally up on the site, you guys should see it. When we edited it, like, it really leans into those porn stars that everyone knows and loves. And it's like, oh, there's Blake Mitchell, there's Calvin Banks, there's Joey Mills, there's so-and-so. And it'd be interesting, maybe down the road, we'll be able to cut, like, a second version that shows, like, a wider spectrum of sexy body types and guys, and kind of run, like, an A/B test and see which one's more effective. Because part of me does think, well, shit, there's a million studios that are all doing the same thing. Like, what if we're the studio that does something different?
I'm curious to see how some of the Palm Springs content lands, knowing that it includes some of this content that's being requested.
Yeah. All right. Question number 3, last but not least. Last week, you mentioned that you're hosting a tantric retreat for non-porn stars in September. What types of guys are you looking for? I'm a chubby older guy who's interested, but I don't know if anyone wants to see me naked or having sex. I don't see a lot of guys who look like me on XTube. I want to say, see question number 2.
Come
Yeah.
join us.
Yep. So yes, like that's exactly what we want. And I think this is an opportunity to increase representation in porn. So if you do want to apply, go to himrose.tv/blog. And one of the more recent entries is going to be a link for you to apply and gives you all the information that you want. Also, I should mention that the retreat is drug and alcohol free. So if that is an issue for you, probably not the right project for you. But otherwise, check it out. And the link there is to apply. So next week's video, what is next week's video? Does anyone know?
1 second. Yeah.
But by you know what though, last week's video, the prostate massage thing, that is legitimate. I love it.
Oh, did you try it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff.
Harder and softer.
Oh yeah,
next week's video.
Nice.
Oh, that's gonna be a fun one. Okay,
I can see that one.
Finn, where can people find more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com. FINNDERHART.com.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening at home.
you.
And as always,
More.
Two.
Come. We're so out of sync.
Terrible cheerleaders.